if I'm voting in a safe state, I would cast my vote for Cornel West because I'd like to see them get to 5%, them get matching funds. But in a swing state,
Well, and
even though I didn't vote for Biden in 2020, I probably would vote for him this time around if it comes down to him. But thankfully, there's still a race going on.
well, let's
And
talk about that.
Marianne Williamson can win. Go
Let's
ahead.
talk about that because there's an Axios report. And this is something, by the way, we've had our finger on the pulse of for a while because this is clear from the beginning when Biden and the DNC overtly rigged the primaries to try to shoehorn South Carolina first. Well, in New Hampshire in particular, their state constitution is like, no, we go first. And the state is not controlled by Democrats. So even if Democrats wanted to change the law with regard to when their primary goes, they don't even have the power to do it, nor do they want to do it because being first in the nation, whether it's Iowa or New Hampshire, confers a huge amount of visibility and political power on those states and on those, Democratic and Republican legislators. And so they are loath to give that up, and they aren't giving it up. So Axios has this report. Their headline is Biden could lose first 224 contests to RFK Jr., who's outpolling Marianne at this point. I would say that he also could lose it to Marianne at this point. But it's all because Biden's team is indicating he's not even going to appear on the ballots in those states if they vote before South Carolina, which is his choice to have the first primary. So he's basically created this mess for himself, all because he performed really poorly in Iowa. He performed even worse in New Hampshire. He didn't start winning until he got to South Carolina. And so they wanted to make it so that he had the easiest coronation to, path to the nomination as possible. So they tried to put South Carolina first, but they really didn't think through, all right, what happens if New Hampshire and if Iowa don't listen and they still go forward with these things? So obviously, Kyle, if Biden's not on the ballot and Marianne or RFK Jr. wins either one or both of those two states, the media is going to try to pretend like it doesn't matter, like this barely happened, like it didn't exist. But it's pretty hard to deny a real sense of weakness and frailty if your guy who's sitting in the White House loses the first two contests.
The problem is, I think you need the media at that time to call balls and strikes and admit that whoever wins those contests has momentum and is serious.
And they're not going to.
And they're not going to.
Yeah.
Because they're just deeply, deeply dishonest. But I mean, if you look back to Obama's wins, didn't he knock off, what was it, Iowa? He may have knocked off Iowa and New Hampshire. He won one of the early states.
Iowa.
I think it was Iowa. And then there was
Iowa.
this narrative that built maybe this is the guy.
Yeah.
This is an impressive win. Everybody thought it was going to be Hillary. It looks like it's not. Maybe it's not going to be Hillary. And they built this narrative and made it so that he built momentum. So, and you remember back to 2020 in the primary on the Democratic side. Joe Biden got those cheeks blown out in the early states. I mean, he was coming in fifth.
Yeah.
Sixth.
I think he lost. Didn't he lose Amy Klobuchar in New Hampshire? It was bad.
He got draxed, bro. He got obliterated. And so I want to, take this news as he's not even going to be on the ballot as definitely great news, right? And it is good news, better than that not happening. Right. But I mean, again, if the media is going to be dishonest about it, I really do think that they might successfully be able to put it as it's a one-off. It's a one-off.
So I think you're probably right. But
I don't want to be right.
Let me play devil's advocate here,
for it.
which is that even in the years, certainly in the years since 2016, but even in the years since 2020, mainstream news is on a trajectory like this. And independent news has become more important. You can see it in the numbers of the percentage of people who are getting their news from YouTube and from podcasts and other independent sources. And so, and you see, the ratings on cable news are just going down and down and down, really dismal. I do think MSNBC has had a big bump from the whole Trump indictment situation, but they do decline in relevance every year, even among the Democratic base electorate. And so the fact that you have a Democratic base that, number one, doesn't really want Joe Biden to be the next nominee. Number two, really affirmatively wants to have alternatives, wants to have debates. And then you find out oh, this guy's not even winning the first primaries. That may be hard for traditional media to really keep that in the bag, so to speak, and put that toothpaste back in the tube. There's the one I'm looking
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just respectfully disagree because I do feel like mainstream media still has a stranglehold on the narrative. And even though new media is on the rise and old media is stagnating and or declining, they're still a much bigger cultural force than new media is. I mean, I'm
Especially-
looking at the ratings right now.
Yeah.
You know, you got Fox and Friends in the morning gets 809,000 viewers.
Oh, Fox will be covering it,
I'm
though.
sorry, wait a second. That's at the 6 a.m. hour. At the 7 a.m. hour, it shoots up to 1.1 million. Then it shoots up to 1.3 million.
But again, Fox will be covering the shit out of this.
I know, but it's for divide and conquer purposes.
Right,
And the other
but
outlets won't
still.
be doing it. And Fox is only preaching to the choir with Republicans.
Yeah, but I'm just
Nobody-
saying
no
you're
one-
given the Fox numbers, which are the highest of all of them, and Fox will definitely be covering it.
Yeah, but I could give you the CNN numbers, which are also, I mean, middle of the day, 714,000. During the Trump arrest, 1.5 million. I mean, that's a one-off because it's the Trump arrest time. But you get the point, right? The point is they're still a force to be reckoned with.
I think their numbers are less important than their cultural cachet.
And I actually think they have more cultural cachet
They do.
than their numbers
They do.
reflect.
I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, I sort of agree with you. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
I hope you're right. I
But-
don't want to be the Debbie Downer here. I don't want to piss on everybody's parade. That's not the saying. Piss on everybody's parade is not the saying. It's rain on everybody's parade.
I think
but
people say
apparently
the
I'm
other
gonna
one
piss
too.
on your parade. I don't want to do that, but yeah, I fear that's the case. But look, take a W where you get it, right? Let's say, for argument's sake, Marianne wins the first two, contests. Yeah, there's the Marianne fans are going to start growing. There's going to be more of them, and we're going to be talking about it.
People will start going, oh, this could be real.
Correct.
Because you have had so many people who've just like had their hearts stomped on and really put themselves out there through 2 burning campaigns, and they feel gun shy about.
I get it.
And I totally get it.
But get over it. I'm bad. Come on, I'm past.
But if you did have her win an actual state and, see that momentum build, things can change quickly.
I hope
That's
so.
what I'm saying.
Look, I hope you're right.
Things
I
can
hope you're
change
right.
quickly.
Especially because Joe Biden's brain barely functions.
Yes.
And
correct.
the fact that they've basically convinced everybody that that's not the case is astonishing, to be honest. It's like we live in the Twilight Zone and they have a total stranglehold on the narrative. And it's like, are you guys seeing what I'm seeing over here?
Yeah.
Are you seeing this?
They are.
Really? You don't want to vote
They
for
are seeing
the
it, actually.
well-spoken woman who, is for universal health care and wants to raise everybody's wages and it can talk nuanced foreign policy, and you're going to go for the guy who says lick the world, which isn't even a thing? What are we talking about here?
To the extent he says anything, I mean, they keep him hidden so much that it's like you barely hear from the guy.
That's fact.
Which is
That's
very intentional. Anyway, let's talk about the other part of our politics, which is totally dominating mainstream media, but for good reason at this point, which is Trump's indictment. We've got Bradley Moss back on the show to break all of this down for us. So let's get to it.
Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.